Hi, everyone. Dom Famularo here, and I am back. I keep on coming back every week. I'm like a bad rash. I just keep on coming back to see everybody, but I have some of the greatest drummers in the world that I get a chance to sit down with and have an incredible conversation. Mapex Live, our all-access interviews. Would you please welcome today Mr. Tyler Ritter.
What's up, guys? How's it going?
Tyler, thank you so much for joining me here. This is so great to have this opportunity. I know before we signed on, Tyler and I have been talking about a variety of different things about, just great educators and different people. And Tyler goes back with a wonderful history of how he started. So Tyler, let's start from there. Birmingham, Alabama, you get inspired to play the drums. What's inspired you to play the drums?
So let's picture mid-90s. I'm probably third or fourth grade, and I've started watching MTV for the first time.
MTV, the power of music videos, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And a music video for a song called Longview by the band Green Day pops up. And I'm blown away because most of the video is Trey Cool, their drummer, in a bathtub beating the heck out of this drum set. And I remember just going, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. At the time, I was taking piano lessons, and I just kind of went upstairs and told my mom, I was like, I don't want to play piano anymore. She goes, that's not an option. What are you talking about? I was like, I want to play drums. She goes, you're going to play piano for another couple of years. So I got a drum set for Christmas, I believe when I was in fifth grade, and terrorized everyone in my family for about 3 days over Christmas. And immediately started taking lessons. And I took lessons from still dear friends, Russ Maddox in Birmingham, Alabama. It's Birmingham Percussion Center back then. It's now, I believe, called Birmingham School of Music.
Yeah, it might be, yeah.
And Russ is still there. And Russ was actually my high school drumline instructor as well. But I took drum set lessons from him and did middle school band. So did, concert snare drum in middle school band. Did a little bit of mallet percussion, but when you're that age and you're a drum set player, you're kind of like, man, I don't want to play xylophone, I don't want to play, which is the biggest mistake any of us could make.
Yeah.
But did play a lot of timpani in middle school, which I really liked. Moved on to high school, played tenors for a couple years, played snare drum. I was the captain of our high school drum line, which was one of my claim to fame back then. But I didn't really get serious about playing drum set for real until I was about 17, like when I was a junior in high school.
So what was it about, how important was the music program in school for you in these informative years?
For me, it was kind of paramount. I don't necessarily know that I would have been getting into trouble if I hadn't had it, because if I wasn't doing school music, I would have been playing sports. I played football, baseball, basketball every single year up until about 8th grade. And eighth grade was sort of the cutoff point where it's like, all right, are you going to play football or are you going to be in the drum line? I was like, I'm going to be in the drum line. And played baseball for a couple of years after that through high school, and just sort of realized, like, all right, like I enjoy doing this, but I was like, I'm getting into this drumming thing specifically. And it wasn't even so much music. It was just sort of, at that point, the athletic nature of marching band was appealing to me.
Yeah.
So I got heavily into rudimental drumming, and anytime I could go to like a day of percussion, like a PAS day of percussion in Birmingham, every year when they had that, I was always there. It was always kind of like face to face with whatever DCI group was there, and then I would stick around for the drum set headliners, and that's where I learned about Dave Weckl that way. Learned about Paul Wertico. Paul Wertico still that clinic. I was probably a freshman in high school when this happened. That's one of the best drum clinics I've ever seen. I'll never forget, because he had just come off of a tour with Pat Metheny. I don't remember what album cycle it was, but he played this solo and he put his foot up on the floor tom and started mashing his foot into the floor tom and was just doing this crazy fast single roll, but using his foot to change the tone of the head. And the first thing I did when my dad picked me up from the clinic, he's like, so what'd you learn? I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to put my foot on this floor tom. I'm going to show you what I learned. Like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. That that was kind of around, that was freshman year in high school. And then like that, I guess freshman year in high school, music started becoming like a really big part of my life. I was really delving into like I at that point, I wasn't just listening to music that my parents listened to. Like I grew up listening to the Allman Brothers and the Beatles.
So what kind of diversity of music were you listening to at that time? Allman Brothers, Beatles, who else?
So Allman Brothers and Beatles were sort of just ingrained into. I have two younger brothers as well that are both musicians, and like we were just force fed that growing up, and it's two of my favorites still. I had never listened to jazz in my entire life until high school, and I really didn't listen to a lot of swing at all until I got to college. But when I was in high school, that's when I discovered like Buddy Rich Big Band and the like some of the Frank Sinatra records that he played on. I know those aren't the flashiest drumming, but it's like that's Buddy Rich playing behind Frank Sinatra. Like that's really cool. And part of that too was playing in the high school jazz band. We were not good. We were not a good high school jazz band by any means. It was a bunch of kids that listened to punk rock and heavy metal trying to play jazz off a piece of paper. So we made it through, but we weren't authentic at all. But I remember watching a video that our band instructor brought in specifically for the two drum set players. He's like, watch this video. He's like, this is what a big band jazz player looks like. And it was a Louis Bellson video. Nice. I think from a Modern Drummer Festival possibly, because it was just him solo. But I remember he had two of the biggest kick drums I've ever seen in my entire life. And it was just, I've never seen anybody that fluid and that fast. And it was like a dance move almost. It was wild. So that was kind of, at that point in my life, 16, 17 years old, that was the most jazz side of things I was listening to Jimi Hendrix Experience. I was listening to Metallica a lot. I was listening to anything on the heavy metal side at that point. I was very into, because it's it's not like I had anything to complain about. It was like, oh, I'm an angsty kid. I'm going to listen to this mean, heavy music. I still listen to a lot of Tool. Tool has always been one of my favorite bands. Danny Carey's, to me, up there with Neil Peart in the echelon of progressive drummers.
Absolutely.
I got really into Rush, probably annoyingly into Rush. Any girl I ever dated was just like, oh my God, what is this? It's like, do we have to listen to this again? Yes, you have to listen to this again.
So were there any bands that you went down to hear live? With a live concert you were going to at the time?
They were live. I was going to as many as I could. I didn't start going to a lot of shows until I started driving. And I didn't really start driving. Like I didn't have a car until I was 17, almost 18.
Wow.
So as soon as I got a car, that was like I was going to every show I possibly could. Now there were not a lot of places to go for kids that were not of drinking age in Birmingham. There were a few places, like there was the big amphitheater out in Pelham, which is like 25 minutes south of where my parents live. So I saw some huge rock bands come. I saw some like kind of legacy acts come through. Like I remember going to see, I think I paid $10 to go see Poison and Winger play. Nice. And I didn't realize who Rod Morgenstein was until I went and I watched Winger open for Poison. And I was just sitting there with my jaw on the floor. I was like, that's one of the greatest rock drummers I've ever seen in my entire life. And I go home and I look up Rod Morgenstein. And I was like, Dixie Dregs, like all this stuff beyond the hair metal thing.
Absolutely. And Rod is a very school drummer. He's teaching at Berkeley College, and Rod lives the next town over from me here on Long Island.
Does he? Okay.
And I've known Rod for probably 40 years now, and he always has been a first-class performer and educator. And the early Dixie Dreg days, I used to go hear them and hang out with the guys all the time. And then, of course, Winger. These are guys that are still actively on top of playing out at the high end. So you're hearing a wide variety of music. Listen, from metal to Hendrix to Rod. You got a lot of versatility in what you're listening to.
it got more versatile, thankfully, as I got older. It got a little one-sided for a little bit. I got really into to Dream Theater in high school, and that was all part of all the drumline guys. Like, I think anybody that's done marching band, whether in high school or college or DCI, like you're kind of like a gang. Like, you spend so much time together. You're not only, it's like being in a band. Like, you're not only friends, you're family essentially, because you're just constantly together. And we would trade music with each other. So when someone would come in, be like, oh my gosh, I found this new drummer. This is Mike Portnoy. This is his band Dream Theater. And we're all sitting there like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever heard. So now we listen to nothing but Dream Theater for the next year. So,
and Mike Portnoy, another guy from Long Island.
I was about to say, he probably lives not too far from here.
He was from Long Beach area. So, out of high school, now you start getting more serious in the high school. And when did you join the Spirit with the DCI?
So before Spirit, so I graduated from high school in 2004. And last year of high school, senior year of high school, I decided I'm going to try to pursue music as a degree. Yeah. My parents were extremely supportive of it. They were very adamant, though, that I get a degree. That was sort of the deal. They're like, look, we know you want to play, but you have to get a college degree so you can have something to fall back on, whether it's teaching, whether it's going back to get a master's degree in something. Like please go to college and get a bachelor's degree.
Right.
And so I work up an audition for Belmont University here in Nashville, which I'm actually looking at across the street right now from my dining room window.
Right.
And I worked up some 3-mallet marimba. Like, I'd never done any multiple mallet marimba work at all, let alone really done much marimba stuff at all. So I spent most of my time on the audition working up like the orchestral part of it.
Nice.
And I think the drum set part of it was mostly just play along to. Well, actually, there were no play-alongs. It was just kind of show us some examples of different styles. Like, I had to play a bossa, I had to play a samba, I had to play a certain amount of bars of swing, had to play like a rock funk groove, and I wasn't taking drum lessons at that point. I was just playing in school groups. So I just kind of worked up some stuff on my own, and I knew that Chester Thompson was one of the drum set professors at Belmont. So I mean, I knew who Chester Thompson was. I knew that he played with Phil Collins. I knew that he had sort of taken over in the Genesis seat when Phil really kind of moved forward, but I kind of mostly knew him from those Phil Collins live records.
And Zappa.
So what happened was, once I realized that Chester was teaching at Belmont, the first thing I saw under his little bio was Phil Collins, Frank Zappa Weather Report. And I was just like, Frank Zappa, didn't know about that. Who the hell is Weather Report? So I went and I bought One Size Fits All, which I think is the only studio record Chester's on for Zappa. I know he's on a couple, I think, Live at the Roxy albums. And then I bought Black Market. And as amazing as One Size Fits All, like Pajama People is one of the big songs off that record, that Weather Report album blew my mind. Like, I had listened to some fusion, but I had never listened to any fusion where I was just like, this is like, put this CD in my car and drive for hours music. And so I'm sure it was not pulled off well at all. And Chester wasn't even in my audition. I believe it was just Dr. Chris Norton and then Todd London, who was one of my other professors there. But I tried to play a couple of rock funk grooves that were sort of Chester ripoffs from that Black Market record. And I think ultimately what got me in to the music program was that I was a pretty good Latin player. I don't know why. I enjoyed playing bossas and sambas, and I had that samba foot pattern down really well when I was in high school. Because I couldn't play swing. Like, I could play swing, but it sounded terrible. It was not good.
That's like when I was younger, I could play swing. I wasn't swinging.
I know. I mean, it was dang, 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 dang. I mean, it was awful. I didn't understand the concept of flow with it. Like I was trying to play swing like somebody that had just been, ripping marching band licks nonstop.
Yeah.
But I get into Belmont, and first semester was super hard. Like it was rough. Like I actually thought about kind of calling it quits for a little bit. And second semester went up. I kind of got my confidence back. I got in one of the jazz small groups. I had taken a full semester the first semester I'd taken lessons with Dorico Watson, who Dorico's basically the reason why I stayed in it. I don't know what he saw in me, but he saw something and was like, look, you need to get your head up. Like, you're not just, like what you're learning right now is hard. It's not that you can't do this. You've never practiced or worked on anything like this. And we were doing all kinds of limb independent stuff, which I'd never done before. We were doing a lot of jazz independent stuff, which I'd never done before. And Dorico, I don't know if you've ever seen Dorico's like personal exercises. But
I've done many events with Dorico. He's a player. He's got a real nice workout routine that he has. Yeah.
When you know how fluid his foot is.
Yeah.
Not feet. His one right foot.
Yeah. And
so he has this one bass drum exercise that I still like. Anytime I'm on a drum set, it is the first thing I play. And it's this little lick and five just to get warmed up, but it's you start with 1 and it goes 1 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 1, and it just loops.
Yeah.
And that when I was taking lessons with him, that was seriously the hardest thing I had ever tried to do at that point. And he sort of he helped me build some confidence with everything. So I came back the second semester and was in jazz combo and was starting to listen to more and more actual jazz, listen to actual swing music. So I started listening to Wayne Shorter, partly because of the Weather Report stuff that I got into.
Yeah.
And I got really into that record, Speak No Evil. So I learned about Elvin Jones.
Well, these what you're talking about, these are very deep albums that it's the core of our drumming education, which is great that you went down that path. And I want anyone that's listening, whether they're listening live now or whether sometime in the future they'll check this out. The albums that you're mentioning and the drummers that are being mentioned here, write these names down, pause this, and write it down and do the research, because you're really discovering and talking about some real deep, important drumming education.
Well, I think you'd appreciate this, Dom. I'm a nerd. I like when I get into something, I want to like figure out every facet of it and almost kind of go down the IMDb route. Like, oh, this actor was on this thing. Like, what else has he done? What connects him to what other musician? And I mean, that was the first time I really learned about Elvin Jones at all. So looking at everything else he had done, and then looking at the Coltrane stuff, and I mean, there's so many records in that, not only genre, but in that time period, like in that late 50s to kind of early 70s.
Yeah.
There's so many that I've never listened to. I know what they are, but it's like I'll find one and I'll just kind of start to dissect it and become obsessed with it. And that's what happened with that Speak No Evil album.
But that's what I like about this here, Tyler, is that's the constant student mentality.
Right.
Once we commit and we engage ourselves to become a constant student, that to me is what I call the fountain of youth. You'll always remain young because you're constantly learning.
Right.
And with Chester Thompson, you're being exposed now to some very deep players at a young age, which is fantastic. So Belmont was. So when did DCI and Spirit happen? Was that before Belmont?
Sorry, yeah. No, so DCI is next. So my second semester at Belmont. Sorry, I got off on a tangent for a second.
Right.
Second semester at Belmont, one of my buddies, who was a fantastic drummer, actually, I believe Kyle's still in New York City. His name's Kyle McCarter. If you ever get a chance to see him play, I highly recommend it. But Kyle had marched in Spirit Jacksonville State University for a couple of years and had taken some time off, and he was about to age out. He was a year older than me, and he was gonna audition for the cadets, I believe. So cadets of Bergen County, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he's going to audition on tenors, and he and I would always kind of geek out on marching stuff because there weren't a lot of people in the commercial music program in the drum department that had done DCI at all or had been super into marching band. He and I kind of connected on that, and I wound up trying out for Spirit kind of on a dare from him. Because I was talking about how I missed doing the marching band, and one of the options that we had at Belmont was to do the drum line at Vanderbilt, which is across the street. So since Belmont doesn't have a football team, Vandy has an SEC football team and a pretty good drum line. I thought about that as an option. I was talking to him about it. He's like, dude, we don't have time for that during the semester. He's like, when are you going to do that? Like, when are you going to have time to do that? He's like, you got to try out for Spirit. He's like, if you don't make it, you don't make it. But at least, you're going to work on those chops. And, he's like, it'll be a fun experience. Yeah. So I went and bought one of those Bill Bachman, like quad pads. And I actually took a couple lessons with Bill Bachman. He was teaching at Forks Drum Closet here in Nashville at the time. And I think Bill still lives in the Nashville area. I'm not entirely sure. But
I think he does. Another wonderful, drum corps focused specialist.
Oh, man. Yeah. He's like, we were talking about free strokes, all the different types of strokes, Moeller free strokes, before we got on this. But Bill's thing with me, he looked at my hands and he's like, all right, he's like, your hands aren't terrible, but he's like, you're gripping this like you're about to fall off a building. He's like, we got to work on like your fluidity and letting the stick work for itself. And that was something, especially with the marching world, I had never really thought about. I would always been taught you're rigid, you're German, because we especially with tenors, we were playing German grip, and then we didn't play traditional on snare drum in high school, so we played German. Nice. And I'm sitting there with him, and we're going over this, and he's like, so what are you going to try out for? I was like, I'm going to try out for quads at Spirit. And he goes, maybe you should go try out for another corps first. So he sent me to I'm going blank. I don't remember the name of the group. They were really good though. They were a smaller corps though, based out of Memphis, and it was Memphis Sound maybe. That might have been it. But I went and tried out, and this was like 2 months before the first Spirit camp happened. And the Memphis Sound camp, I did all right. I'm really glad I went because I did not get called back. So I figured out what I needed to work on before I went to Spirit.
Nice.
So by that point, I worked my butt off to get my hands looking better. Didn't really have an opportunity to actually get on a physical set of quads to like march around and work on that with. But I was able to really work on my hands. By the time I got to Spirit, I wound up making it through all the way to the end for tenors. And they thought my hands looked great. And what happened was, and this is kind of, I don't know, a lot of this has actually sort of the reason why I'm in Moon Taxi, funny enough, is they cut me the very last camp. They're like, look, your hands look great. There was this old, I hope Dan is listening right now. If he is, Dan, hi, I miss you. It's been a long time. But Dan Mahako is this old drum corps guy from Michigan. And Dan really liked me, liked the way my hands looked. But he'd always come up to me in this real harsh Michigan accent. Kid, your hands look great, but your ass looks like hell. You can't march worth a damn. So they cut me because they're like, look, your hands look great, but you cannot move with a set of tenors. Like, it's obviously been too long. they're like, you have one more year before you age out. Why don't you practice that, come back, maybe we can get you on the squad next year. And I was pissed off. I was mad. So something was said to the degree of, you just need to practice more and come back. Maybe you're not playing enough. I just kind of looked at it. It's like, guys, I'm a music major at in Nashville. Like, I'm playing all the time. I'm gigging, which was not true. I lied about that. I was not gigging. I was basically just strictly in school. And, they kind of looked at me and they're like, well, what are you working on? I was like, well, I'm a drum set major. I study with these guys, and my focus has been here, and here, and I'm doing jazz small groups. I've done a little bit of big band stuff, and Dan Mahako goes, wait a minute. The show is a Buddy Rich show, right? And I went, what? No. And he goes, you want to play drum set? I was like, how would that even happen? He goes, don't worry about it. Come back in a month for next camp and have a full solo prepared, and we'll talk then. So long story short, I go home. This is at the end of second semester of my freshman year. So juries are coming up, and that second semester, Chester was back. So I've been taking with Chester, which was a whole other level of cerebral craziness. Chester's personal exercises look like it looks like somebody took a typewriter and just threw it down a staircase. Like, it just notes everywhere. It's all for a purpose. It's all about limb alignment. But if you look at it thinking that you have to play this faster than 60 BPM, you're going to lose your mind. So I've got that working on. I'm working on transcribing. I just decided I would take Witch Hunt off that Speak No Evil record.
Right.
And I would transcribe it. And I kind of use that in one of my lessons with Chester. And I would show it to him. I'd be like, am I on the right track with this? And he'd kind of look and be like, yeah, it's like this, it seems like you're on the right track. And he kept asking me, he's like, what are you doing this for? I was like, well, I'm doing this for a drum corps thing. And he goes, why are you doing this for a drum corps thing? I was like, I don't really know, but hopefully I'll find out and I'll have an answer for you. So long story short, I go back, and there was supposed to be 2 other people to show up to audition. I drive from Nashville to Jacksonville, Alabama, which is like 3 or 4 hours, and the other guys haven't showed up. There's nobody to audition against me, and so they go, "Cool, you're the one who showed up. Do you want the gig?" And I said, "I'm going to play this right now. I'm playing this. You have no idea how much work I put into this. I'm playing this right now." So I go, "Okay." So I sat down and I brought a CD of Speak No Evil and put on Witch Hunt, and I played through it, and they were like, "Cool. You ready to start now?" And that's kind of how it went. And I finished out that second semester and went to camp. Went to the first camp a couple weeks later. I had hair down to like the middle of my back at that point, so I had to cut my hair. And show up, and it was me and this. The corps was sponsored by Yamaha at that point, so I had this giant Yamaha drum set on a rack. It was like I think it was 2 up top, 2 down low, 2 snares, and then as many cymbals as you could possibly imagine.
Wow.
And I had it on a rolling cart that I had to pull. So every day for that entire summer, I was basically in gym shorts and sandals, pulling this cart in the sun down in Jacksonville, Alabama, and I just played drum set for 12 hours a day.
Oh my God.
It was like the way that I played when I came back that fall semester compared to how I was when I left was like night and day difference. I mean, to the point where like my professors were like, "My God, like where did you come from?"
Well, that level of commitment, is really where the game changer was.
Well, and it's like playing in a rock band or playing in a small group setting and listening is extremely important, especially if you're playing improv-based music. And most of the bands that I've been in at that point were kind of jammy, like rock bands.
Right.
And so a lot of it's like, we don't have songs. We're just going to play and we're going to listen to each other. And or play a cover and kind of go off and do something. With the DCI thing, playing with Spirit, there were parts that they wrote for me. I'd memorize the parts, and then I'd kind of break them down. Like, all right, I think I can do this a little bit differently to make it more authentic. One of the songs we did, like the specific like Bloody Rich part of it was it Dance of the Mushroom Hunters or March of the Mushroom Hunters? Something about mushroom hunters. It's a really cool song. But they had this part for me, and I realized like the part that they had was not what he was playing. Yeah. And I was like, look, I can't do this exactly how he's doing it, but this is what it is. And I got to sit there and like really just focus. I didn't have time to transcribe it because I was kind of having to listen to it with a CD player and headphones, and then kind of work on it in between runs because the drum line's like running behind us.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm doing that. You have to listen back behind you, even though you have a drum major in front of you conducting. Like, kind of ignore him, and you listen to what the line captain. If they're not playing, you listen to his duts when he's going dut, 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 like that, and then you listen to the snare line. Yeah. Like and they're moving all behind you on a football field. So it's like, if you watch the video of me playing, like I'm going crazy, but I'm like, I'm kind of like, it looks like I'm really into it, but what I'm doing is I'm moving my head so I can listen to what I need to listen to keep the time. So,
and we call this baptism by fire.
The baptism by fire, yeah. It's kind of it's a fake it till you make it sort of thing.
Absolutely. Well, what a great experience. I mean, if you have that level of intensity and to push yourself. So you're doing this here now. So how did Moon Taxi start?
So I met the guys in Moon Taxi right before I left for DCI. Had 2, maybe 3 gigs with them, and it was the first time I had made real money playing a show.
Right.
And by real money, I mean like I made $100, and I was like, "Holy crap! Just made $100 playing a show. Like, this is awesome." I think the most I made before that was like $20, and $20 hauling gear, opening up for some band that didn't give a shit about us. And it's just like, this was awesome. So I met them. I leave for drum corps. I kind of told them like, look, I got this thing. I got to do this summer. Like, I've got to do this. But if there's still a seat open when I get back, I want to keep doing this because it's not only a lot of fun, but these were kind of the best musicians I had ever played with. Yeah. And so I get back, and the day that my parents drove up for the DCI finals. They were in Madison, Wisconsin that year, and we finished the finals. They drive me and my brothers back home from Madison to Birmingham. So like talking like a 13, 14 hour drive. I think I slept the entire drive. I was so exhausted. And I get back, and I had like 2 or 3 days before I had to be back in Nashville for ensemble auditions. I feel like ensemble auditions were always like maybe 3 or 4 days before classes actually started. So I get back, do my ensemble auditions, and immediately go to what we used to call the Moon Taxi House, which was where we practiced, which was kind of right off campus. Yeah. And go in, don't call anybody, just show up. Like, you're back. I'm like, yeah. So what are we doing? They're like, well, we're glad you're back. We got a gig tomorrow. I was like, okay, cool. And that's kind of how it started. That was 2006, going into 2007, and then throughout college, like I did jazz. I never played in the big band in college. I never quite had the jazz chops for that, but I love playing in these small groups because we were doing a lot of like weird fusion stuff, and that kind of became my thing. I got really into like John Scofield and those records that Bill Stewart's on.
Well, Billy is a phenomenal player.
I don't understand what he does. It doesn't make physical sense to me.
Just a brilliant thinker in how he thinks so far out of the box.
Yeah.
Feel and his expression, his passion is just so deep. Boy, we have I'm going to bring this up on the screen here. Carlos Goodman, who's a phenomenal drummer and a drum tech for some of the most famous drummers in the world.
Waltz of the Mushrooms. He's got
of the Mushroom Hunters. Leave it to Carlos. Thank you, Carlos, so much to find out that tune. And I want to go over here to to Larry Belton Jr. Dorico is amazing. It's always one teacher that keeps us grounded. So it's
Yes.
you know, and some people are fortunate to have more than one teacher keep us grounded. But thank you, Larry, for sure. And let me go to this question here by Carlos. It's great that you're really digging the history of drummers. Did you discover Kabim and the Mahavishnu Orchestra at some point?
I did, yes. It was, trying to remember, we had to play a Mahavishnu song in one of the small groups. And I mean, I knew about Billy Cobham mostly from Drummer World videos.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I knew, and from Modern Drummer, just, you know, from magazines and stuff. But I hadn't really listened to, is it John Mclaughlin? Is that the guitar player in Mahavishnu?
John McLaughlin was a guitar player.
Okay, so I had listened to some solo stuff from him, but hadn't really pieced together that was all, that he was part of Mahavishnu and that Cobham was part of Mahavishnu. So we had to play this tune. I'll think of it in a second. And I remember looking at the lead sheet, and the guitar line was just crazy. And there weren't many cues for me, so we started playing. I'm just kind of playing it's almost like I was playing whipping post. It's kind of the feel I was going for, and it felt good. And I remember going home, and I think I, downloaded the song somehow, listened to it. I was like, I could not be further from what I need to be doing right now. It was one, I'm not playing nearly enough notes, which at that point was like, that's what I want to hear. Like something where I get to play a lot of notes and fast. Like that was, the fun factor went off right there. But then hearing other things that Billy Cobham did, especially with Mahavishnu, like he's a tactician. And like a songwriter's drummer. Yeah. I mean, I know Mahavishnu is probably not considered a lot of like writing songs by typical people, but the arrangements that they had were incredible, and like everything he did was so melodic and musical. And
Cobham is brilliant. I mean, Billy now is 75 years young. I actually just spoke to him yesterday. He lives in Bern, Switzerland. He is still at the top of his game, putting together, not only more performance albums and what he's doing, but of course educational programs that I'm working with him on. It's great that you discovered him. Carlos's other part of it was you live in Nashville. Do you ever get over to the Mapex office to see the guys there?
I do. I get to go see Mark and Nick and Mr. Goldenson and Jeff. And when Hibbs was still around, Hibbs and I got to grab lunch. I only knew Hibbs for a couple of years, but it was a lot of fun. While I got to know him, we go get some barbecue, hang out.
Oh, great guys.
Talk shop.
Mark Bennett, Jeff Mulvihill, all the guys, Rick DeYoung, there's just great people there. Let me go to one more guy, Dominic over here. Dominic Anzalone. What's your process for creating drum parts for Moon Taxi? Your drum, they're always so, they're always so great, your drum parts. So how do you work?
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you very much, Dominic. It's different every record, honestly. It's partly because, funny enough, before everything shut down and everything became remote, we were actually kind of doing remote writing before this happened. Like Dom, you and I were talking about remote lessons, how you kind of started doing that before anybody was doing it.
Yeah,
we've always sort of just sent demos to each other. Like if someone writes a song and they have an idea for a drum part, someone will add, whether it's complete or not, like kind of a digi drum part or like a percussion part, like something just MIDI.
Yeah.
And I'll take that as kind of a base and start out with that. So when we get together, either in the studio or in a rehearsal space, and usually now for new songs, it's just we just get together in the studio and go for it. I've got that as a base, and then I try to cater more to the melody lines than just what the bass is doing or what the rhythm guitar parts are doing, like especially with as far as kick drum goes. Like a lot of times I'll try to play off what the vocals doing. Ride patterns specifically, I try to play off what our lead guitar player is doing. Like if he's soloing, we've been playing together for so long. It's not like I'm bored of what Spencer's doing, but I can kind of tell where Spencer's going to go with certain licks that he's going to play. So I can sort of mimic with my right hand or even my left hand sometimes, like what rhythm he's going to do and kind of make this like call and response thing. But it's all about servicing the song. It's all about doing what's going to make the song be the absolute paramount version of what it should be.
Well, that's a great point, and I like the fact that you're kind of allowing the music to direct you. You know, this is another wonderful Mapex artist, Frank Perry, who has taken some lessons with me, a dear friend and a great student. He actually organizes a lot of my social media. But he says, a wise man once said, "Rehearsal is for cowards." That's a line that I use with all my students, where I say, listen, rehearsal is for cowards.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is not rehearsing, but don't depend so much on rehearsals. Allow yourself to get into the moment and experience the moment of what's happening. As Vinny Colaiuta always says, thought is the enemy of flow. And if you're just in the moment, like with what you do, Frank, thank you so much. If you're in the moment with what you just do and how you go about checking out these songs, you're doing just that. You're in the moment serving the song.
Right. Absolutely. Like and there have been plenty of times where I've tried to do something and my bandmates have looked at me like, "What the hell are you doing?" That's like we know that this doesn't work. I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. This doesn't work."
But that's a part of the learning process too. Experimenting with things that you're not sure will work, and that's kind of where an open mind is such an important part of the process. To keep your mind thinking and trying and experimenting and researching and finding what might be the best for that particular song. Now you have 6 albums with Moon Taxi, and you got 1 live album.
We do, yes.
So tell me what it's like when you're doing recording and you're working on tunes. What's it like that as opposed to doing the live album? The live album, you're in go mode.
Go mode. Well, let's start with the live album. So the live album is obviously going to be more straight ahead, but it's go mode. And for me, going back to rehearsal is for cowards, which I could not agree more. That goes back to our trial by fire thing too.
Yeah, that's great.
It's kind of in the same universe. When we have a live album called Live Ride. We have a couple like live EPs, but like specifically when I think of Live Ride, that album, we were not a band that really played to a click at all. We had 1 studio album under our belt at that point. Like this is one that you can't even find anymore. Oh. But it was not done to a metronome. If anything, we had maybe started off a couple tracks to a click and then just cut it off and went for it.
Nice.
And we were really worried about having sort of that adrenaline syndrome happening while we were recording this live album. Because we taped a bunch of shows throughout that whole summer just to sort of get ideas of what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
We had an old college buddy of mine came out on the road and just set up a DAT tape, system and just recorded the show so we could hear them back. And notice that like certain songs, when we get really amped up, tempo's flying off the charts. It's like, all right, like this is cool in the moment. People are digging this in the moment, but if you listen to this back on a record, it's going to be like, man, what is going on? So I bought a Tama rhythm watch and just sat it right next to me for the remainder of those shows for the summer, and didn't really run click while I was playing, but I would just have the light beeping just to kind of see where I was in relation to everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like by the time we did that night for Live Ride, excuse me, it was a 2-set show. It was about 3 hours worth of music that we put out, kind of a compilation of the greatest hits from it. And by the time we got to that show, I feel like we were super locked in. And we had played, that was 2009 or 2010. We had played more shows that year than we had ever played. I think we played, in 2009 we played probably like 140 shows, and in 2010 I think we played like we might have hit 150.
Beautiful.
It was a lot, especially like our keyboard player in 2009 was still in college, so he couldn't come with us on every gig, but he was coming when he could. We were super tight though after that. Like it was. I remember our manager at that point. He's still actually our manager. Our manager had just come on right before Live Ride. And I remember when we came back and did some rehearsals just to kind of like get some kinks worked out before recording that show. He was like, "You guys sound like a completely different group." And it was just from playing every single night. And most of the time we were playing the Crickets. Like we had just gotten a booking agent and we were playing all over the country. It's like the booking agent taking a dart and just throwing it at a map, driving all over the place. It didn't make any sense. And we took advantage of playing to no one and just kind of messed around and figured out some really cool stuff. We figured out, we were very, very, very improv focused back then. We had a lot of songs, but each song was either 5 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on what the mood was. It was kind of our Grateful Dead Fish phase.
Yeah, but what a great way to get to know the music, to get to know the musicians. What a great way to kind of try some things and experiment.
Yeah.
Very excited. It's very, very exciting.
So I guess I got off on a tangent again. I'm sorry, but I guess the answer to that question as far as like recording process for that, like having all that time to mess around with parts and think about how things work with each other and working with a metronome as much as I did.
Yeah.
I don't keep a copy of Live Ride on my phone. I keep a copy of the full set of the show.
Yeah. Because
every now and then when I get in my car, my phone just picks up the Bluetooth. It'll play like a random song that's not on the record. And I'm just like, man, we haven't played that forever. Man, it sounds good. Like we were really tight. It was cool, especially knowing that you have one chance to do this.
Yeah, yeah. That's sometimes with the pressure. That's when you got to hit the pedal to the metal and
metal to the metal. Metal to the metal.
So check this out. We got Ross Elder now is watching from the UK right now. So we've got some people. Global. Do me a favor now. Just talk about Mapex. What drum set you're using and what snare do you have behind you right there?
So I would normally have you guys in my little practice room in the back, but it's currently occupied by a sleeping 8-month-old little girl. So right now this is actually part of my practice kit that I keep at home. This is the Mapex Armory Kit that I first got when I met Joe back in 2014, I believe.
That's Joe you're talking about right now.
Joe Hibbs, yeah.
Joe Hibbs, another legend in the music industry.
Yeah. So I've got a full 5-piece kit back there. So this is the floor tom, and this is the tom. I think it's a tomahawk. Yeah, tomahawk steel snare.
Beautiful.
Funny, a lot of people are. I don't know if a lot of people know this. I actually wind up using my Armory Snares. I have 2 of them on most of our recordings. Like of all the snares that I have, I actually wind up using this one, and I have an Exterminator, which is the birch walnut one.
Yeah.
I use that one a lot. I think it's awesome.
How great! It's always unpredictable. With a snare drum until you get in the studio, and you're mic'd up with the certain mics they're using, the sound of the studio. All those factors come into play, the head you have on it, how it sounds, all of these snares, and I'm a fan of all of the Mapex snare drums. They just have a great, incredible variety. Yeah. And you need a few snare drums like we have a variety of cymbals in our setup to kind of find out what matches. But you have, so the white Saturn kit that you use for touring, is that the one that you're playing now?
So currently I have a white Saturn 5 Tour edition. That I've had out for the past 2 years. Got to play that guy for the first time in 2020 back on New Year's Eve, which was fantastic. I've got a Saturn 5, just a regular Saturn 5 as well, that are different sizes, more traditional sizes. My Saturn Tour, I have a 24-inch kick, like a shallow, it's like a 14-inch depth, and 24-inch diameter. And then I've been rolling with a 13-inch rack tom hi-hat side. And then I have a 10-inch rack tom on my ride side. So kind of inverted, sort of like the Kenny Arnoff thing. Sure. And then I have 16-inch floor tom and 18-inch floor tom. My regular Saturn 5 is it's a 10, 12, 16. And I have what is my Black Panther? I love this snare so much. It's one of the new ones, not the Versatis, not the Cherry Bomb. It's, I believe, the Heartbreaker.
Yeah. That's what I have on this drum set back here, my Saturn 5 here. I get the Heartbreaker. It's beautiful snare.
I always forget what it's called because it's the only one that doesn't have a name on the label. It just says Black Panther. Like there's no like Heartbreaker name on it. Right. That thing, love that snare drum. I think that's my favorite one that I've had in a long time. And I've used that one on some sessions lately too, which has been fun.
Boy, that's great. So with Mapex, it gives you the sound you need. You go in the studio, they record so well. I mean, I've been with the company for many, many years, and I'm always so impressed with not only the great product that they make, but the great, creative innovation that they have. At the recent NAMM show that happened, in 2020, when I was there, when we were able to go to it, they had all the snare drums set up. They must have had like 20 some odd snare drums. Each one really had its own personality. It was, it was amazing. The type of wood, the thickness of the shell, the metal, the type of metal, the depth of the drum. They were just so wonderful to hear, and it was just a kind of an exciting thing to have them all in one alignment, to hear them all at the same time.
I got to, that was my first NAMM last year. So and hopefully not my last. Hopefully they have NAMM again. But I just sat there and stood and gawked at that line of snare drums. And I think it was Jeff Mulvihill came up behind me and was like, "You all right?" I'm like, "I'm fine. Just sit there. just taking it all in right now."
Yeah, I'm having an emotional break.
Having a moment right now, Jeff.
Well, the drums that were just so great in what they had there too. And NAMM is happening. Actually, NAMM will happen this week virtually. And anyone that's listening, they can go to NAMM.com. They can get the information. They can sign up and go there and watch. There's all different panels that are going on. I actually have a panel that I've interviewed Leland Sklar, Steve Lukather, and Jim Keltner.
Oh, cool.
Panel that was pre-recorded, and that'll be happening also. If they go by and check out the calendar, that'll be great to watch that. But NAMM's going to happen. But it's great that you were able to come to that NAMM show to kind of see. This past NAMM show that we're at was my 42nd NAMM show, so it was pretty. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's great to see all the different product that's there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm excited for. I guess we could talk about this. I'm excited for what's about to happen with Mapex, with the new product line that's about to roll out. I'm sure you've gotten to hop on some. I got to hop on some recently.
They've got some great good stuff. Well, aside from the design lab, that Russ out of the mind of Russ Miller. Aside from that, which is in itself phenomenal, but all the evolution that they have, these drums, these are just Birch. I mean, they really are an incredibly creative company that just keeps on coming out with new ideas, that keeps the excitement in drumming. The sound is always great. The hardware is great. Yep. They've got a pretty good combination of what they're doing right now, and their price point is fantastic. So I think Mapex really has the cutting edge of what's happening. Plus, educational programs like what we're doing right now, that we have this kind of accessibility. Tyler, that we've got people from all around the world watching. This will go on.
It's pretty amazing.
It's live on Facebook. This will eventually go back on Facebook. Then eventually this will go on the Mapex YouTube channel. So I tell everybody, go to Mapex YouTube channel and check that out. So this is incredible to have a company that really kind of supports us all the way around. It's
important you say that too. Like I never thought about this until I really started working with instrument companies, specifically Mapex. It's so important to having artist reps that are there for you.
Yeah.
That are good people and that you can call friends. Like, I mean, Mark is amazing. Jeff's amazing. Nick is fantastic. Like all these guys are so great, and like I owe a lot to them. They've helped me out a ton over the past few years that I've been with the company. So I can't say enough good things.
Yeah, they are great people. And Mark Bennett, who is this is incredible that he has going on here. Here's a YouTube link that people can go in there and check it out. He's got this here now, which is let's bring this up here. That new evolution video, Mark. What you did was was fantastic. So I want people to go by and check it out. Check out the YouTube clips. Go to Mapex YouTube channel. Watch all the product. Listen to the new stuff. Be excited by it. Boy, Tyler, I can't thank you enough, man. You did fantastic today. This is
Thank you very much.
Great time to have a chance to have a chat with you, to kind of get to know you better, and for everyone to kind of get to know you better. And I want people to go to moontaxi.com and check out
ridethemoontaxi.com.
What is it?
Ridethemoontaxi.com.
Ridethemoontaxi.com.
Yes, sir. Yep.
All right. And the new album, Silver Dream, I had the chance to hear One Step Away and the beginning, which was just fantastic.
Thank you very much.
You were playing some mallets on, which was great too. So I kind of enjoyed the uniqueness and the variety of that. You're on Instagram, which
yes,
at Tyler_Ritter.
Yep.
On Instagram. Everyone go there. You can contact you that way. And also the Lesson Squad. You're on the lessonsquad.com.
I am now, yes.
Everybody wants some lessons, track down Tyler on there and enjoy your journey with Tyler Ritter. Tyler, thank you so much for your time. Happy and healthy New Year, and of course, the best of success with your newborn there.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Tom. Let me say one more thing before Mark yells at me. So the Evolution video that Mark was talking about in this chat comes out on January 22nd, which Silver Dream comes out on January 22nd. And I'm going to be playing one of our new singles called Say, and I'm going to be doing a live chat on the Mapex YouTube channel. So January 22nd, I believe it's at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can check my Instagram for more updates on that, and that's it.
Oh, fantastic, Tyler. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tyler Ritter. Good luck with Moon Taxi and all the new album that's out. Thank you so much to Mapex. You guys have done great. Stay well. Happy New Year, and I'll see all you guys next week. Thanks so much.
See you guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye.